I'm Rachel Turner, your local gender stereotypes reporter. Today's top story is on gender stereotypes. Hosting this afternoon's program, we have Sonia and Nicole, scholars of the portrayal of Asian Americans in media. Join us as we explore the different ways in which both Asian females and males are depicted in popular American films today. So, what exactly sparked your interest in this area of study?
Well, Rachel, Sonia and I both took this class in college many years ago on Asian Americans in media, and two of the movies we watched, Slaying the Dragon and Slanted Screen, sparked our interest in gender stereotypes of Asian Americans. As the quarter continued, we began to ask questions about what people thought of Asian Americans and common stereotypes in American media.
Not only did we want to ask about what the common stereotypes were, but we also wanted to know about the effects that they had on Asian Americans in society today.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. I can't wait to learn more about this subject. So I understand we have some videos to watch today?
You betcha, Rachel. Let's meet Johnny, a freshman at the University of California, Santa Cruz, and see what he had to say about some of the questions we had to ask him.
Let's do it.
So do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
First name.
My name is Johnny, and I am a mixed race with Asian ethnicity.
Cool. All right. So, first thing I want to ask you is, what types of roles or stereotypes come to your mind when you think of Asians in American films?
Roles and stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that an occurring thing with Asians in any kind of film is that it seems like they don't play a significant kind of role,
Mm-hmm.
especially when there's like lots of mixed ethnicities in a group. It feels like the role isn't very strong. Like it's very passive.
Okay.
Something that's stereotypical is like, I mean, maybe like the way they dress, act, and like the way they look. Seems like it's pretty constant.
Okay. So you think like there's not much room for them to have like different character roles, kind of? It's like pretty static.
I think it's pretty static.
Okay. How often do you see these stereotypes in everyday life? Do you actually like
In the everyday life, the thing is about in real life that people are different.
Mhm.
So there's a bunch of different kinds of Asian. There's no like one Asian that doesn't exist. It's like Asian is like a mixture of culture, and then when you're in America, you never know who someone will be.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like the stereotypes in media don't accurately reflect who the Asian people are.
Okay. How much of an effect do these stereotypes affect you? Do you think about them like every day, or do you feel any pressure?
They don't affect me because they don't really have much of an influence on my life.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that I would actually think about them is if that like they were offensive,
Okay.
because then that wouldn't be accurately portraying like who the culture is.
Hmm. What do you mean by offensive? Like, I know, like if they.
Just like
If it's-
sometimes, like for instance, like Family Guy as an example, like
Mhm.
it'd be kind of as a joke and not serious.
Mm-hmm.
So classical slanted eyes, accent, and teeth, kind of.
Okay.
But I mean,
Like over exaggeration.
yeah, over exaggeration. Sometimes it's just not necessary for it to be like that. Some jokes don't need to be made, especially when
Mm-hmm.
whenever is making them knows that they're not going to be funny for us.
Okay. Has your family ever pointed these stereotypes out to you, or how did you kind of
Not
come
exactly.
to realize? No.
We tend to not look at them because they're not really like, important.
Mhm.
Mostly, like we notice stereotypes as if they're for another race.
Okay. Let's see. All right. How do you feel Asian males are represented in media versus Asian females?
Versus,
Or you can compare and contrast.
I think that Asian males, like I said before, their character isn't very strong.
Mhm.
I feel that they're always seemingly like they're nice,
Mm-hmm.
and they're pretty passive. And females, in most media that I see, it feels like that they're really like Americanized. There's no like really culture behind them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it seems more Asian American as in all the things that I've seen before.
Okay.
So as opposed to each other, they seem pretty similar.
Okay. Let's see. So would you say that there's any truth to these stereotypes? I mean, like, these stereotypes are based on something. Like, how much of
I think that there is some truth behind it, because where else would they get it unless they saw it,
Yeah.
But, I mean, like I said, everyone's different, so it's not true for everyone, even
Right.
maybe not true for most. But there's definitely some things that, that you can learn from, like, knowing someone that's Asian.
Okay. Would you consider Asian males to be sex symbols? Because in a lot of different types of media, Asian males are portrayed as like big, nerdy, geeky, like.
I know. I definitely don't think
Yeah.
that Asian males are portrayed as sex symbols. I've never seen them before. It's always like they're really kind, or they're nerdy and they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Inexperienced, seemingly. But I think that an Asian sex symbol could only be found in Asia, not here.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Can you think of any actors or movies or shows that kind of try to break these stereotypes at all?
It's kind of funny because I can't think of a single one that would try to break the stereotype. It seems like the stereotype is pretty grounded in media now.
Okay. Is this type of representation problematic to you?
I wouldn't say it's problematic because it doesn't really affect me as in who I am, but I think that the identity of an Asian in media isn't accurately portrayed. And I think that if it is, that's the thing, that because there's no way to know that it's accurately portrayed, because, like I said, everyone's different. So I just wish that there would be a change, from one place to the next about like who they are. Maybe a change to the stereotypes, make them different.
To portray them more accurately.
Yeah, portray them more accurately.
Okay. Well, you kind of answered the next question, so that's good. And last question, actually. Do you feel that Asian representation has improved in recent years? Because, I don't know, there are some new roles in new, shows or something that kind of try to break the stereotypes, but a little bit, but not so significantly. But
I think that I believe that maybe some progress is made. It's just that it's so rare that you wouldn't be able to see it. It's not something that's really recurring yet. That's all.
Okay. Fabulous. He had some very interesting things to say. I noticed that he talked about both stereotypes of male and female Asian Americans.
Yeah, I thought that was a very good thing to bring up. Asian men and women have, for the most part, always been given certain roles that generalize the population as a whole.
Indeed. Some of the common stereotypes that we actually see of Asian American men are that they're always kung fu fighters or they're nerds and geeks. Women, on the other hand, have a kind of a binary portrayal. On one hand, they are objects of sexual desire, but this kind of contrasts with the other depiction that they're passive, subdued creatures who always obey their husbands.
Let's not forget fresh off the boat.
Exactly. These topics are also addressed in another interview that we have for you.
Ooh, let's take a look-see.
I guess in terms of like stereotypes that I think of when I think about Asians being portrayed in the media, there's definitely the like fresh off the boat stereotype where every Asian you meet is, straight from China or wherever, and they don't speak English very well. They're just really good at math and they're just socially awkward and kind of just like brisk, and I don't know how to describe it except for Asian-like. So yeah, that's definitely the stereotype I think of most.
Do you think that stereotype embodies you or your experience being Asian American?
No, not really. I mean, maybe my grandparents when they were younger, but I mean, I guess they still qualify in that stereotype. I think they're a different stereotype though, and that's not normally portrayed in the media. Let's see. Can I just move on? Okay. I feel like Asian American males are mostly represented as geeks, like losers, and again, people who are just like, freshly immigrated from somewhere and don't really know how to interact in the American style. And females, I guess, I don't know, they're either really like just supposed to be exotic and hot, or they're again really geeky and straight from China.
We're talking about the stereotypes that we see every day on the media and how that affects people, especially people of color, especially people who are of that race, who are Asian American. Is that an accurate representation of them? Is there something wrong? What roles would you like to see? Do you think those representations are problematic because there are so many Asian American citizens or first generation Asian Americans or second generation Asian Americans who live here and that's not representing them?
I mean, I think no, it's not representing them, but those are also some of the people who I personally know have the most enjoyment from viewing those stereotypes, and it's more relatable for them and therefore more amusing, and it's like an inside joke with whatever is going on the screen because it's something they've seen in their real life. And I mean, everyone knows or hopefully everyone knows that the stereotype doesn't just apply to them. They tend to assume they're just the exception, and that's how everyone else is. And there are some things I'm sure that are just really offensive that everyone would be offended by, but in general, I haven't found it to be really offensive to Asian Americans.
Do you think that stereotypes in media set people apart, people of different ethnicities apart, because they're both laughing at the same thing, but one might not know where the other's coming from?
I mean, I feel like they take really general stereotypes that most people know aren't true and use that to make fun of, a certain group. And because everyone knows it's not really true, it's exaggerated, I think it's acceptable to laugh. And maybe you are laughing for different reasons, but overall, it's just there's jokes about white people, there's jokes about Indian people, there's jokes about Chinese people. Everyone knows those few race jokes, and if it's played up in the media, it's something that is accepted by society on the whole anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
Stellar interview. Do you think that Robin is saying that it's okay to laugh at jokes if they aren't related to you specifically? And do you think this is problematic?
Well, when Sonia and I took the class in college, we discussed if it's acceptable or not to laugh at exaggerated characteristics of certain racial roles. Some of our classmates said it's acceptable to laugh only when you're a part of the target race, while others thought jokes about specific races are always unacceptable.
Right. But at the same time, however, it's important to note that these are very personal views, and sometimes the answers will vary depending on the person you ask.
Indeed. I did notice that the two interviewees had slightly different viewpoints.
That's exactly true. Johnny felt that exaggerated representations are problematic and offensive,
while Robin, on the other hand, was not as offended because I think that she feels that the audience is a little bit more aware that they're over-exaggerations and they're not supposed to be taken as seriously.
Wow, what incredible insight to the lives of Asian Americans. Well, thank you so much, Nicole and Sonia, for coming in today to talk about this understated yet very important issue that faces American society today.
Thank you, Rachel.
Join us next time for our in-depth discussion on Margaret Cho's mother. For now, have a great day, America.